I am Joseph, and this is my story. The air hit me first. Not like wind, not like breath. Like something heavy pressing down, thick and unmoving. Dust filled my nose, dry and bitter, tasting of earth that had not seen water in years. My ears rang from the sudden fall, a sharp, hollow echo that would not settle. I tried to inhale, but the air felt used, stale, as if it had already been breathed too many times before it reached me. My body struck hard against the bottom, and for a moment I could not tell if I was still alive or if this was the first sensation of dying. I lay there, stunned, my cheek pressed into the grit. The ground was warm, almost hot, and it smelled faintly of old sweat and something sour, something that lingered, like this pit had held others before me. I pushed myself up slowly, my arms shaking, my chest tight as though a band had been pulled around it and cinched without mercy. When I looked up, the light was small, just a circle, just enough to remind me how far I had fallen. Voices drifted from above, familiar voices, my brothers. They sounded distant now, like men talking from another world. I could hear laughter, not loud, not wild, controlled, intentional. That was worse. It meant this was not an accident. It was chosen. I called out. My voice cracked, dry before it even left my throat. Why? No answer. Only the scrape of sandals shifting against the edge above me. A shadow crossed the opening, then disappeared. I felt something tighten inside me. Not just fear, but something deeper. A slow, creeping realization that this was not a moment that would pass. This was a decision that had already been made. The dust clung to my lips. I licked them, tasting earth again, and tried to steady my breathing. The walls around me were rough, uneven, packed with hardened soil and stone. I reached out, pressed my hand against them, and felt the grit break loose beneath my fingers. It crumbled easily. Too easily. There would be no climbing out. My chest throbbed, not sharp pain, but a constant pressure, like something pushing outward from within. It had started when they grabbed me, when their hands were no longer brotherly but forceful, impatient. When their eyes would not meet mine. I replayed it. I could not stop. The way they surrounded me, the way my coat was torn from my shoulders, the way I searched their faces for something, anything, that looked like hesitation. I found none, only resolve, and now here I was. I tried to stand. My legs wobbled, unsteady, but I forced myself upright. I needed to think, needed to understand. The ringing in my ears had softened into a dull hum, but the silence that followed felt heavier. Too heavy. "Reuben!" I shouted, louder now, forcing strength into my voice. "You don't have to do this." A pause. Footsteps shifted again above me. Then a voice. Not Reuben, another. "He talks too much." Laughter again. Short. Dismissive. My chest tightened further. I turned in a slow circle, scanning the walls, the ground, the narrow opening above. There was no water here, no rope, no path. Just dry earth and the faint smell of abandonment. I swallowed hard. My throat scraped with the effort. This was where people were forgotten. The thought came uninvited, and once it arrived, it would not leave. It settled into me, heavy and cold. Forgotten. Left to weaken, left to fade. I pressed my back against the wall and slid down until I was sitting again. The dust shifted beneath me, rising in small clouds that caught in my throat. I coughed, each breath harsher than the last. Why? The question returned, louder now inside my mind than anything I could shout upward. I had done nothing to deserve this. I had spoken what I believed was true. I had shared what I had seen. But now, in this place, those reasons felt thin, fragile, insufficient. The pressure in my chest deepened, not just fear now, something heavier. A sense that everything I thought I understood about my life had been stripped away in a single moment. I closed my eyes. The darkness inside my eyelids matched the darkness around me, but it felt different. Inside, memories moved. Faces, words. Moments that had once felt solid now seemed distant, unreliable. Had I been wrong? The question cut deeper than the fear. Had I misunderstood everything? My breathing quickened, short, uneven. The air felt thinner now, as if the pit itself was closing in. I pressed my hand against my chest, as though I could hold it steady, but the throbbing only grew stronger. Above, the voices shifted again. Quieter now, more deliberate. I strained to hear. What if, no, better, we can sell? The words came in fragments, broken by distance and the echo of the pit, but the meaning formed quickly enough. Sell, not kill. The realization hit me with a strange mix of relief and dread. I would not die here, not immediately, but whatever came next would not be freedom. I opened my eyes and looked up again. The circle of light seemed smaller now, as if the sky itself had pulled away from me. My chest ached, not just from fear, from something else. Betrayal. It settled into me slowly, like the dust that had coated my skin. It was not a sharp pain. It was steady, lingering, a weight that did not lift. I had trusted them, not blindly, not without awareness of tension, of jealousy, but I had never believed it would come to this, to being thrown away. Time stretched. I could not measure it. Minutes felt like hours. Each breath marked the passing, each swallow of dry air a reminder that I was still here, still waiting. The sensation in my throat returned again and again, the grit, the dryness, the constant irritation. It became a rhythm. Inhale, cough, swallow, repeat, my body tracking my fear through each breath. I leaned my head back against the wall and stared upward. The light shifted slightly. The sun was moving. Life continued above me. That realization cut deeper than anything else. Up there, the world went on. Conversations continued. Decisions were made. Paths were chosen. And down here, I was suspended, removed, powerless. The thought pressed into me until it reached a point I could not ignore. I might never climb out of this, not by my own strength. The admission came slowly, reluctantly. It moved through my mind like something I resisted, something I tried to push away. But it returned, again and again, until I could no longer deny it. I was not getting out of this on my own. My breathing slowed, not from calm, from exhaustion. The fight inside me, the need to understand, to argue, to justify, began to quiet. Not because I had answers, but because I had reached the edge of what I could control. My hands dropped to my sides. The dust settled again around me, and in that moment, something shifted. Not outside, inside. It was not a sudden clarity, not a voice, not a solution. It was the recognition that I had been holding on to something that no longer held me. Control. I had believed I understood the direction of my life. I had believed the path ahead would unfold in a certain way. But here, in this pit, those assumptions meant nothing. I exhaled slowly. The air still tasted of dust. The walls were still unmoving. The light above was still distant. Nothing had changed, and yet something had. I was no longer fighting the reality of where I was. I sat there, breathing steadily now, each inhale deliberate, each exhale releasing something I could not name. The tightness in my chest remained, but it no longer felt like panic. It felt contained, defined. Footsteps approached again above me, more urgent this time. A rope dropped suddenly into the pit, brushing against my shoulder. I flinched, startled by the movement, by the sudden intrusion into the stillness. Grab it. The voice was sharp, commanding. I hesitated. Not because I did not want to leave, but because I understood now that leaving this pit did not mean returning to what had been. This was not rescue. It was transition. I reached for the rope anyway. My hands closed around it, the rough fibers biting into my skin. I held on tightly, my grip firm despite the tremor that still lingered in my arms. As they pulled me upward, the walls scraped against my sides. The light grew larger, brighter, almost overwhelming after the dimness below. The air changed. It moved. It carried new smells, open space, heat, life. I blinked as I emerged, the brightness forcing my eyes to adjust. My brothers stood there, not as I had known them, as something else. Strangers with familiar faces. They did not look at me the way they once had. There was no softness, no connection, only distance. Hands grabbed me again, not to throw me down this time, but to bind me. The rope that had lifted me now held me. I did not resist, not because I agreed, but because I understood. Being lifted from the pit did not mean I had been saved from what was happening. It meant I had been preserved through it. As they led me away, the sensation of dust still lingered in my throat. The memory of the pit stayed with me, its weight, its silence, its stillness. And I realized something I could not ignore. Deliverance is not always the removal of the moment. Sometimes it is the preservation of the life within it. I had not escaped, but I had not been left. And somehow, that difference mattered more than I could explain. The reference scripture is Genesis 37, 23 to 28.